Hey guys, welcome back to Tower of God New World. In today's video, I wanted to do an updated wish list priority, and I'm going to do these every month. So this one is going to be for October, and I wanted to go through my thoughts on the wish list. And I am also going to include Kun Ran in this one as well, and my thoughts around him. We don't know 100%, but I'll mention him just because he is coming out soon for those thoughts. And if this drastically changes, like if mid-month we get a new character that's like on the carry level of Ihwa and Huarian, then I will make an update for this as well. I think Rand's going to sort of fall into that mid-level. I don't think he's going to be the greatest carry, but I think it will have decent tank capability, so I'll talk more about that as we go. Now, I'm also going to talk about this as if I was starting a new account, or if maybe you guys have got like maybe one or two characters maxed out, and talk about something else that you might want to look to as well, which I'm starting to consider myself. So let's get into it. First of all, your primary one is the one with the highest rate up. I think for a new account, my strategy, I've been thinking about this a bit lately, would be to have Ihwa in the primary spot until she gets to 3 green, then swap it over to Huarian after that point. The reason being that Ihwa can carry super hard at lower dupes than Huarian, but early on if you get her to 3 green, she gets that attack buff and she should be able to coast you through as your carry until you get enough dupes of Huarian to where she becomes more viable. I think that's the better play than just going Huarian as the primary from the start, because those Ihwa copies, the 3 is going to give you the bonus attack, which is going to be really nice for her, helping her clear. So that's the way I've thought about it, is I would go primary DPS for a new account, Ihwa, until you get 3 copies, until you get her to 3 green, sorry, which is 4 copies. And then after that, I would swap these. But these two I would leave on my wish list permanently. Now, if there was another character of this caliber, currently the next best carry we have is Hats. And if you want to do him, you can. I just prefer using these two. But he's the next best one, and I want color diversity in my carries, so I wouldn't want to go with him. But if we get another unit introduced into the game that is as good as these two at carrying, I would permanently leave that third unit on my wish list as well, just to prepare myself for when we get into, you know, the 3-team area. On my account, I got up to needing 3 teams in less than a month. I did have some good rates early on, but you know, if there was a third DPS carry unit that was viable, like as viable as these two, I would have loved to have them on from the start to start getting those extra dupes. But at this stage, I feel like these two are pretty comfortable in those top 2 spots. Now, as we move on for that, for new accounts, there are a lot of units that want 1 copies of. But I'm going to start off with what I would leave it as, and then talk about units that you can sub in and out of these positions to get 1 copy of them. So basically all these units, let's just go through that now. I'm just going to put them all here, up here, boom, 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 boom. There's also a few more, like Yellowy is another one that's great to have 1 copy of. I mean, he can even be for bosses, but I wouldn't worry about it. That wouldn't be my focus. Who else is decent at 1 copy? Her, if he goes a hard, but he's okay at 1 copy, but I wouldn't be swapping him into the wish list and stuff like that. And that pretty much covers it for units. Now, like I said, all 9 of these characters I think are great to have 1 copy of, and you can feel free to swap them through your wish list. Hats is there just as a carry if you want to choose him. If you're not using him as a carry, then he would just drop out of the thing completely. But yeah, you feel free to like put these guys, any 3 on your sub wish list. Once you get 1 copy, swap to another one, and they can be in any order. It doesn't really matter, you know what I mean? Get 1 copy of them, swap, get 1 copy, swap, until you have all of those units. And then once you've got all of them, my no-brainer one to put on the wish list is going to be Bomb. Bomb, getting him to at least 1 red is where I would take him off the wish list myself, and that's what I have done on my account. I got him to 1 red and dropped him off, because then you get him to max out the attack and defense buff that he provides to his ally, and that is his main purpose. After that, you don't need it, but here's one that I think is worthwhile on a long-term investment. Another one is going to be Kun. He's a good one for long term in my opinion, but you do need to get him to Rainbow for that to be worth it, so you may not want to wait that long. Another decent one could be Endorsey, but I wouldn't go there personally. I think Naray is a great option for the long term, leaving copies in. These two can probably fight for 1 spot, to be honest, in there. And then, or you can do that, or you could even do something like this, or you could do something like this, depending on what you want. All those units are decent to leave on your wish list because they're all powerful units. she's great because she gives the buff, the red team buff for Huarian, and she's a great healer for her. So she does work well in that situation. But for people, and that's pretty much my summary of new accounts, just make sure you have Ihua and Huarian on there permanently, get the copies of the others, and then you can pick and choose your one. The one main one I like leaving on is Bomb, because I think he's like the best buffer in the game. But besides that, you can mix around between these units down here in these final slots, and you should be pretty good. Now, for players that have completed, one carry unit, for instance, let's say you've completed your Huarian. This is sort of where my account's at. Now you have more options. My Bomb is also done. So now I have other units to look to putting on my wish list. Now, once again, I could just fill it out with some of these supports that are decent supports. Besides that, this is something I'm thinking about. Now, I'm not saying this is what you should do. This is a thought I'm having. Vespa can be a really good tank with dupes. So I think Vespa might be one that would be worth putting onto this wish list in one of the sub spots to start getting those dupes, because we've only got 2 reliable stall tanks, and Vespa's like the 3rd sort of stall tank, even though she doesn't stall as long, but she does get really heavy defense buffs, so she can become a tank for the yellow team once you get her duped up. So she might be an option to put in there for your 3rd team. Another one is Khun Ran. Now, I think Khun Ran, once again, I'm not saying he's bad. That's like, he could be one of those carry slots. I'm not too sure. But the way his passive works with the 70% damage mitigation for a fairly long period of time, I think he could be a very similar spot to Vespa. I think he has more chance of being a better carry than Vespa, but I also think he has a chance of being a really good tank. So he is another one that I'm considering putting on my wish list in a permanent spot. I may even primary wish list him when he comes out, because, we're going to have the event going so we can get the extra free copies, which I think is great. So he is another one that I think is really valuable. Now, you could look at other tanks, for instance, the Amigo Chars. I think he's going to be a great tank, but I'm not too familiar around what tanks are going to be the best, to be honest. But as we move to that point where you start getting 1 or 2 carry DPS built, then you want to start focusing on other units that are going to benefit your teams. And normally, if you're running Data Zahard on one team, Data Mashni on another team, you're going to need a tank for another team. And I think Vespa really fills that role. So I'm very highly considering putting Vespa in a primary wishlist spot on my account, which makes me kind of regret not going all the way on the Vespa event for the free copy. But hey, it is what it is. So that is my basic summary. Like I said, for me, for newer players, I think the no-brainer wish list that you remain with is these 3. Once again, I think getting her to 3 green and then swapping that to that is a great play, because Huarian needs more investment to work, whereas Ihua works at lower, but getting her to 3 green at the start allows you to just have a lot more power with her. So that would be my play with those 2, swapping them around. And then Bomb is the one, like, once you get 1 copy of like all of these units, I think. And you never want to get the 1 copy of units through your primary spot. The primary spot you want to leave for those carry DPS. But once you get 1 copy of them, I feel like these are the 3 you want to leave in. And then as you move past that, you can choose which ones you want to leave in the sub slots. For me, I've left him in there, and I've left her in there. Those are the 2 that I decided to go for, but it's really flexible on the ones you want to do. Now I'm just going to make a quick cut, and I'm going to come back and we're going to look at the SSR Plus units and the wish list for those. Okay, so looking at the SSR Plus units, this is pretty much the same as the last time I talked about this in video, so I'm going to keep it pretty simple. Evan, Data Zahard, Data Mashni. No brainers, you need a copy of each of them, 100% in my opinion. And Data Zahard is probably the #1 priority because him with dupes becomes a better carry than what Data Mashni is, in my opinion. So I think Zahard is absolutely fantastic. I think these are no brainers, at least until you get 1 copy. Now, arguments could be made with these 2 that once you get 1 copy, you could drop them off. I'd say with Evan, the energy is always going to help. And Data Mashni, honestly, she does do still decent damage with dupes, but you could swap them off. The remaining 2 slots, I think it comes down to personal preference. Big Mashni can be a good carry. Evan Kell can be a great carry as well. These 2 I'm less sure about. I haven't had any success myself with Viol. Most people I speak to who've invested in him, there's a couple that say he's amazing, and then I've got a few people that say he's quite average. And with Big Khun, I think he's just a tricky one the way he plays. I think he is perfectly viable, but I think between these units, you can literally choose whoever you want. But just keep in mind, these are all going to need dupes to work well. Karaka is a bit different in that he needs dupes to be tankier so that he can help support your dark team and live long enough to use his taunt and his ultimate. So Karaka is a play you can make on your wish list. He is currently on my wish list, but I definitely think these remaining 2 slots will shuffle around depending on what we see in the future from other units in the SSR Plus category. But I think these 3 are the no-brainers. You at least need 1 copy of each of these. Zahad is an absolute no-brainer to leave on there permanently. Me personally, I am leaving these 2 on permanently as well. And my current wish list is looking like, I think, Karaka and Evan Kell. I did take a copy of him just for testing purposes, but he isn't working too well at 1 copy. But that is the sort of thing I am looking at. But once again, you can pretty much do those 3 and flex around the final 2 slots, depending on who you like and who you want to test out. But just note, these guys, you're really going to need at least 3 green on them to get some sort of practical use out of them, whereas these guys all have a great use at a single copy. So that covers the SSR pluses, that covers the SSRs previously. Let me know what you guys think. If you disagree with anything, please let me know in the comments. I'm not saying I am right, this is just my opinion. And with the SSRs, I didn't put every possible carry unit in there because I just wanted to cover the top 2 that I think are absolute no-brainers, and then you can flex around another carry if you want to. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.